Today we'll be answering questions we received about real estate investing
from an investor's perspective and from a realtor's perspective.
right after this.
Hello everybody, I'm Ken Rollerson and this is my wife,
Delresa Rollerson.
Welcome to our channel.
On our channel, you'll receive real estate information and tips in regards to investing in real estate and also in regards to buying or selling real estate in a traditional way from a realtor's perspective and also from an investor's perspective. So we invite you to subscribe to our channel.
Yes, please subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know what you think and what else you'd like to hear about.
And also hit the notification because we do upload video every week. So today we'll be addressing questions we received.
So the first question we have is, what is it like to work with your spouse? I'm throwing that your way.
Oh, that is a trick question.
Is it tricky?
So working with your spouse is, for me, personally, it is an experience.
An experience, okay.
So one of the things, you have to really get accustomed to working with your spouse. When you're working with your spouse, you're with your spouse for a long period of time, like all the time. So one of the things that I have really learned is that we really have to work with one another to learn to really admire the strengths and also recognize the weaknesses that we both have. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Definitely. That's a key thing. And, it's helpful to divide and conquer, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Allow each person to dominate in an area that they're strong in,
right?
With minimal interference. You don't let a person fall off a cliff if you see a cliff, but if they are just going to trip over a crack and learn from it, sometimes that's not a bad thing. One of the goals is to minimize conflict. Now, there's a certain amount of conflict in any relationship that's even healthy.
Right.
But, and that's the kind of conflict when, in particular, you argue about don't fall over the cliff. You don't want your
right.
business partner, your spouse, or anybody else to fall over a cliff. And so that's healthy conflict and learning how to resolve those types of things. But some of the small things you let go and you let the person learn how to become a better specialist in the area that they already shine in.
Right. So kind of like what they say, choose your battles, because some things aren't even worth arguing about. Like some things just are not worth.
It's just not worth it.
Worth arguing about. But some of the things there are worth discussing and coming together. So sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things. I think my biggest thing would be is if you're working with your spouse, learn to agree to disagree.
Right.
And pray a lot.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to need it.
Yep.
Whenever you have two people coming together, it doesn't matter if it's your spouse or if it's a business partner that you just personally know. Whenever you have two people coming together for one objective, you're always going to have conflict and you're always going to have disagreement. So the thing is just really respecting that person's point of view and just, like I said, learning to disagree in a way that's tactful. So agree to disagree.
Do it agreeably.
Yeah.
Disagree agreeably.
Disagree
it
agreeably.
It doesn't have to be a bad disagreement.
Right.
And the fact that if you have a partner who is not like yourself, there's value in that because they bring a different perspective. So, it's probably more valuable to have someone who is not just like you than having someone who is just like you, because they're going to see a blind spot that you don't see. And you, by the same token, will see a blind spot that they don't see. So there's value in that.
So that balance creates that balance. Mm-hmm. That's where I think even working together as spouses is good because a lot of times spouses, they do have balance. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a strength with working with your spouse. So another question that we've gotten is, what type of property do you recommend for a first-time home investor? So that's something that...
All right. So I'll say in general, for a first-time investor, it's probably safer. I'm going to address this again, but it's probably safer to go with something that's more cosmetic in nature.
Absolutely.
For your first time, where you're just doing something basic like painting and maybe some new
right.
flooring and, light fixtures, versus on the opposite end of the spectrum, a complete gut.
Oh, you don't want to do a complete
That's probably
gut.
not a good thing to do for your first time. So I would recommend starting off soft and working your way
Right.
in.
I agree. And you really don't want to, you want to kind of stay away from moving walls and doing things of that nature because there is a lot involved with that. So Ken is totally right. The cosmetics, which is basically the painting, the flooring, light fixtures, yeah. Things of that nature. So outside, just general cosmetic things on the outside, landscaping, not adding an additional room, things like that, not changing a 2-bedroom house to a 3-bedroom, those type of things. Those are things that I wouldn't recommend as your first time experience as an investor either.
Yep, because even with the strictly cosmetic flip, most likely you're going to run into things that you were not anticipating.
Yep.
But they'll be on a much smaller scale.
Absolutely.
Than they would be if you were opening walls and dealing with electric circuits and panels and so forth and so on. So
the thing to remember is the bigger the project, the more expensive it's going to be. So of course with cosmetics, it's going to be minimal expenses associated with that. Whereas when you're moving walls and doing things of that nature, you're more than likely, your emergencies or unexpected situations are expensive.
Exactly.
Situations.
Yep, because you get into things such as ductwork perhaps and electric and plumbing. Once you get inside the walls, those are the kind of things that are inside the walls.
Right, and you never know what's in those walls until you open them.
So the next question is, how do you find your contractors?
Oh, well, you can find your contractors if you have a realtor like myself partnered with you, your realtor can give you referrals for contractors. And if you do not have a realtor, if you're working solo as an investor,
then I meet contractors everywhere. So I'm in and out of the home improvement stores. I won't give a brand unless they pay me.
Right.
You can pay me stores.
Sponsor us.
Anyway, so when I see someone with a contractor's vehicle that has a logo and company name, I like that. And I usually am comfortable to ask them for a card, and if I'm working on a project and want to try them out. I like to try them out on a punch list or a small part of a job to see how well we work together, to see how professional, how timely they are, how punctual they are,
the quality of their work.
The quality of their work, all of that. Yep.
And referrals are always good. So if you get referrals from other people that you know that are in the real estate industry as far as investors or even realtors, referral goes a long way because generally when someone refers someone, they're referring them because they know they're credible.
Right. So absolutely.
So our final question for today is, when you are investing in real estate, how do you set your budget?
I think that's a highly personal thing for each person to come to terms with.
It is.
So you have to decide, for instance, if you're flipping versus doing a buy and hold as a rental property. In either scenario, you want to decide what's the financial take you're looking for.
Right.
Are you looking, for instance, if it's a flip, to make $10,000,
right,
to make $5,000, to make $20,000? There's no wrong answer. It all depends on what your need is and what you're willing to take. I mean, to try to make a $20,000 profit could mean a couple of things. It could mean that you have to buy a much more expensive house to get that kind of margin. Or it could mean that you got to be very picky and with a whole lot less options to choose from for a lower price to get that kind of margin. So, but if you say I only want to make $5,000 or $10,000, then you have a lot more opportunities to buy a property. And of course, it also depends on how much time you got. $5,000 if you got plenty of time and you're just sitting at home on the couch. Otherwise, take the $5,000 and run.
Right. And then also you have to look at the type of supplies that you're going to put in the house, and it depends upon the entire, like he's saying, if you're going to flip the property or if you're going to do it as a buy and hold. But say in this scenario when you're going to flip the property, your realtor will let you know what your after repair value is for the property, so that'll give you an idea of how much room you have in regards to your supplies. So if you're doing a property where, like we do, which are affordable homes, you do not want to put very high-end product in the house. Yeah, you may put granite in the house, but you don't want to put the top of the line granite, because there are different grades of granite that you can use. So those are the type of things that you definitely want to look at as you are setting your budget. In the state of Georgia, from a realtor's perspective, I'll share this with you. In the state of Georgia, we do have a due diligence period. So you can make an offer on a property. A due diligence period gives you a certain amount of time to really assess that property. You have your inspector come out during that time. Then you can really put the pencil to the paper and see what your budget is going to be, to see if that property is basically worthwhile for you as an investment.
Right. Good tip. Well, good, Reese. This has been a real good Q&A session. Hopefully you all have found this to be of value.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll subscribe and like. Send us your comments.
Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Put in the comments if you have any additional questions that you would like us to answer, and we'll answer them possibly in the future.
Absolutely.
But like he said, subscribe to the channel.
And like us.
And comment.
Until next time.
See you in the next video.
Sayonara.